I just realized that we didn't decide who was going to do the intro, Nan, man.
I
Do you
figured
want
you
to?
were. You got this. You're
Why was I
make it
going to do the?
happen.
I wasn't even supposed to be casting this to start off with. I
That's
don't know
okay.
what I'm
You're
supposed to
you're
say.
casting now, so no. So
So
this is what
there we
Zowie
go.
NA Rumble #1 here. Easy peasy. We had a little bit of delays, a little bit of hiccups here and there with getting things sorted out, but we are here, ready to go. We've got our first match, Baldwin versus who else is he playing? Who's
Dumble.
Baldwin playing?
Dumble.
Dumle. Dumle.
Dumble.
ZVZ to start things out here. It's going to be great. I believe Baldwin's currently up 1-0. We're jumping in game 2 of this.
I think we
So
just rumbled too hard to start this off now,
I
man.
think it was. I think it was. Nobody was prepared for it, for how much rumbling was going to be taking place. But it is working out okay. We've got a game started up here. Way Station is going to be game number 2 here between these two players. And again, $100 is on the line for these players. It's going to be a more regular thing. So sorry for the little bit of hiccups that we've had tonight, but it happens, you know. We're getting things smoothed out, ready to go. I'm going to, in between games, try to scarf down food, but not while we're casting, because that would be unprofessional, and it would give, of course, Boisterous more ammunition against me. But Boisterous, why don't you take it away with the intros?
Spawning up here in the top right-hand corner on close spawns for Way Station, we are going to have SEED.Baldwin as our blue Zerg player.
And his opponent spawning down in the south here. It's going to be our blue Zerg player, light blue this time, Dumle.
All right, so ZVZ on Way Station, close spawns, which both of our players know about at this point.
Yeah, so that's what's cool about Way Station is whenever you spawn, it is always going to be cross spawn from your opponent. So they know immediately how it's going to work. And bam, 9 pulls coming out. Boom, boom. Out of both players here. Oh, 10 pulls.
Yeah.
Sorry. You know, counting and stuff like that. I need more food. That's what it is.
Yeah, that's your issue right now.
That's my excuse. But, yeah. Early pool is going to come out, and that's really just because it is that close spawn. It is the very short distance here that these players have to worry about, and play it safe with going for this early pool. You don't want to try something too greedy and end up taking too much damage from it. So I like this style of play here. We don't know how game number 1 went, sadly, because we missed out on it. But I don't know. What are your thoughts on the early pools from these two players here, Boisterous?
I mean, I think that on close positions Way Station, it's really the only thing you can do.
Mm-hmm.
If you go for the 15 hatch and your opponent like 6 pulled or something, you're kind of dead. And
Yeah.
even if you go for like the 14 pull and your opponent's 6 pulled, it's still going to be sketchy depending on how well they can control their Zerglings. But it looks like we are going to see some early aggression coming out from both players. Baldwin actually making 8 Zerglings, same from his opponent. So we are going to have a little bit of a midfield battle right here.
Yeah, this is going to be cool to see how things work out. I mean, we also can note that Baldwin is grabbing his extractor a little bit quicker than his opponent, so he's kind of still geared towards those later stages. And both players just sort of bypassing each other with the lings here. And actually, Dumble turns around. He actually decides, you know what, I'm going to defend against this. He's throwing down his hatch behind this, but Baldwin is going to be able to zip into the main base and just kind of, he sees that there is a hatch there, kind of waiting to intercept the lings of Dumble at this point.
Yeah, and he's figuring at this point that because his opponent has a hatch down, he's going to have the greater ling numbers in, say, 30 seconds. So he's just going to opt to wait that extra little bit of time so that he has that ling advantage. But he's going to have to pull back now, actually, because it looks like Dumble manages to pull out and get nine Zerglings or so. And he'll be able to defend against this from Baldwin for now. It looks like Baldwin is going to have to sit patiently outside of the base of Dumble.
Yeah, so behind all this that Baldwin was doing was actually a really smart play. As he's kind of droned up a little bit heavier than his opponent, getting that gas up and running so he can start to get metabolic boost, get the Bailey nest going, and he's delayed his natural hatchery in this time just to kind of rely much more heavily on his economy there. So, we're going to have to see what sort of damage he can get done once that metabolic boost finishes up, because this is something that Dumble's kind of neglected altogether. He says, you know what, I'll go for the next stages and make sure I've got a hatchery up. And Ling gets in there and did not get to see there was no extractors there. So that's kind of a good indication that, all right, it looks like I'm going to have a great advantage here. Start to flood those Lings out, start to get the Baneling nest, and we start to see the spines come down for Dumble in response.
Yeah, this is actually a really old school build from Dumle. This kind of harkens back to the days of like Spanishiwa, the Ice Fisher build, where you just don't
Yes.
get gas as the Zerg player. It was mostly used in ZVP, but I don't know, I guess it might work in ZVZ? It's definitely risky though. I mean, once this metabolic boost finishes up, and once we see these banelings start to pop out, it's gonna be really hard for Dumle to be able to control around his opponent.
Yeah, I agree. And one of the things that would make this style a little bit stronger is having more queens too. But
Mhm.
that's okay with how it's working out. He's starting to get up that drone count, getting his spines in the best position he can, and he's still making links. Like he's not going to kind of neglect those. He had those overlords in position. He knows that there are links out on the map, and he's got to be careful about it. But I believe he has no clue about those Baneling nests, but he can have a good kind of game sense that all right, it's probably going to be coming out with a big influx of both speedlings and banelings coming soon. And we do see the speedlings kind of trying to find an angle, but actually that is a very, very nice positioning here from Dumble with the double spine and queen sitting in between.
Yeah, I mean, the real danger here is going to be these Banelings about to roll in here. They are on creep now, and it looks like we are actually going to see a lot of Speedlings being able to break up into the main base, and these Speedlings are going to be going right for the drone line, and the drones are going to start falling. We don't have any deaths yet, but there go two, and it looks like these Speedlings are going to be able to get cleaned up here, maybe by Dumble, but they're going to be able to do a tremendous amount of damage here. These drones, they should really just turn around and fight, but they're not doing it, and there we finally have the turn back, and it looks like we do have 3 or 4 drones dying for Baldwin, but that's not, or for Dumle, but that's not as bad as it could have been. It looks like a 5th one will go down before this all gets cleaned up, and actually a 6th too, which is annoying for Dumle, but I mean, he has such a lead on his hatchery right now.
Yeah, I really, really like that decision of Baldwin, though, to kind of try to slip in there with the banelings, with the lings. And if Dumble just kind of kept all of his lings on hold position at the ramp, that would not have worked as well. But allowing that angle in there kind of did hurt him slightly to lose a couple of drones. But overall, things are looking pretty good in Dumble's position. Like he's, up there with the 30-some drones. Baldwin is kind of right up there with him, though, 35 here. And with how things are looking for the next sort of tech up, both players going into that roach heavy style of play here. Like we already see Baldwin going for that +1 missile. We already do see Roach Wardens finishing up here. Layers on the way right now coming up from both the players as well. But Boisterous, what are your thoughts on the Roach versus Roach style on map like Way Station here?
I think it's going to be interesting. I mean, Dumble has a defensive lead. I mean, he already has his wall off finished. He has the spine crawlers up there. He has the queen lead. But at the same time, I mean, the economy is definitely in Baldwin's favor. Baldwin is up 10 drones right now, make that 9 or 8 or so. But, I mean, it's still pretty severe. The big thing for Dumble here is going to be defending until that second Evo chamber can kind of start to kick it up and start getting upgrades for him. He really needs to last until he can start to out-upgrade and out-tech his opponent.
Right, right. And, one variation we've already started to see is that Baldwin is snuck in there and grabbed that third base quicker than his opponent. Dumble does have vision of this. He's aware that this has gone down, and that's going to be kind of the next sort of step for Dumble to try to grab his own third. But Baldwin's got a lane kind of position at the most ideal third base for Dumble, and he's got to be keeping an eye on things. Overlords are still a key portion in the middle of the map for this. Now that it's getting into those roach fights, you want to see when that kind of flux of roaches start scuttling their way across the map here. Gladiator Constitution coming out for both players, but like you said, Boisterous, that those upgrades are really going to start being a factor coming into these next couple battles. Having that double Evo chamber there for Dumble is going to be a very, very key factor in this, and already starting to see those roach numbers getting higher and higher. Baldwin already sitting at 14 though, and we're going to see a big shoot up here from Dumble very, very soon though. So.
Dumble has been kind of trying to catch up in workers, and he's managed to actually get right up there with his opponent, but you really can't risk going any higher than 44 in this type of matchup, because you're not going to be taking a third base at any time soon. The 44 is it's very close to optimal saturation on both your bases. So you just want to get there and stay there, and then just try to pump out as many roaches as possible. Now, of course, Baldwin still has the roach lead, so Dumble's going to have to take some very smart engagements here, and these queens being this far out of position almost led him to a very dumb one, to be honest.
Oh, one queen goes down, second one's going to get sniped, and that's a really
good.
awkward position for Dumble there.
Oh,
Kind of all pumped up, and yeah, a lot of his roaches falling in the front before even the roaches in the back could fight, and so he falls back to the protection of his spine crawlers here, and Baldwin can now kind of start sieging up on those Evo chambers. And oh my gosh, he's going to snipe the one that is upgrading. He knows that's the one that is upgrading and takes it out. So no +1 ground carapace, able to finish up. More roaches popping out for Baldwin, and this shove might be a little bit much for Dumle to handle at this point in time.
Yeah, I mean, Dumble's real issue here was that he took so many bad engagements right there. I mean, having those 2 cleans out was terrible. He should have pulled everything back way behind the safety of his walls. And then, I don't know, he decided to stream out his roaches instead of staying behind with his spine crawlers, which was silly. Like the range of the roaches plus the size of the buildings means that, you know, the roaches will be able to do damage to that front line of buildings before the spine crawlers can attack, but you kind of just got to let that happen. You can't try to be aggressive when you're down in roaches. You just cannot do that, or you're going to die like Dumle did right there.
Yeah, I thought that was a good showcasing, though, from both players, like starting out with a very similar opening and seeing how it sort of progressed from that point on. Like, there are different decision makings in it. Dumle did not kind of overreact when those lings kind of fled into his main base. He was able to control pretty well with his units there, and, you know, just kind of that slight misplay there with having his units kind of out of position and just not moving the rest of his roaches into it, kind of engage when Baldwin was kind of shoving his way across there. And, you know, that's the unforgivingness of ZVZ sometimes. It can just kind of end like that. But I think it was a good way to showcase ZVZ in that close spawn positions like that.
Yeah.
But, yeah, before we jump into our next match here, of course, I want to say a big thank you to everybody that's tuned in and watching here. This is, of course, the Zowie NA Rumble #1 here. Of course, we've got everything all over on Excelio there, where the brackets are running. Everything is all going to be set up there every single month for the Zowie NA events in the future here. I think we've got about 20-some participants tonight. We had a lot more sign up, but there was a few issues with getting everybody in and checked in. I guess happens. A lot of people signed up, and then plans changed and stuff. But a lot of great players still playing tonight. Like a couple of the ones, like SWS is playing, Guitar Cheese is playing. You know, it's going to be great to see some of these players start battling it out. And the first round, we had a couple of players kind of move already to the second round, and even a few players have jumped all the way to the quarterfinals, just kind of plowing through a lot of their matches at this point.
Yeah, I mean, it's been going really fast so far. So, I mean, just stick around and be sure to check out and see which one of these players manages to win that big cash prize.
$100 on the line.
Yeah, I think the split is like $70 for the first place player.
Yes, I believe that's what. Let me double check though. I don't want to give you guys the false information. Let's see. Where is the? Yes, first place 70, second place 20, and then third and fourth each get $5 there. So, you know, if you make it to that top 4, make it to the semifinals there, you at least get pat on the back. Here's $5 for coming out and showing some skills for us there. But, you know, this event would not be possible without Excelio, without Zowie gear. Of course, Excelio, they are the kind of the hosting of the tournament site there. They've done a great job. You can put your rules all in tournaments that you want to host. Going to break down the participants, has the breakdown of the matches and stuff like that. Very easy, very clean website in that regard. And Zowie, of course, has some great gear for all you guys. I'm sure you guys are familiar with all the different Zowie stuff out there if possible. Sadly, I don't have any cool stuff to show you at this point in time. You know, no mice, no headphones, but they've got some great gaming gear out there. If you guys are looking for some cool stuff, Zowie is definitely something you guys should be checking out there.
And it looks like our next game is going to be Nettie versus Kellizer.
Awesome, awesome.
If Dalek decides to invite us.
No invites allowed. But yeah, we've got, like I said, a lot more matches planned, a lot more exciting games to come. And then talk a little bit about the map pool while we're waiting for the next game to start up. Is pretty much the pool that you guys would expect to see. You know, very standard, very similar to the tournament scenes. It's kind of just straight up ladder pool. Most current ladder pool is what you're going to be seeing there. So Habitation Station, Merry-Go-Round, Polar Night, King Sejong, Overgrowth that we just saw, Frost. Very, very standard kind of stuff, and a lot of really exciting maps. These are the maps that people know, so it makes for better games by having kind of the normal maps that we're seeing here.
Yeah, I mean, Merry-Go-Round especially. I think that's probably my favorite map in the new map pool. I love the fact that it's a three-player map. I just love the variations that can happen with three-player map play. Just because it favors cheesers
Mm-hmm.
and it favors like early aggressive play.
And so it looks like it is going to be Nettie versus Celio as next, and not the Kelliser guy. If we get the invite for that, that's the real thing. But yeah, we shall see lots of great matches coming up, guys. Like Atarchi's is waiting in the quarterfinals. SWS is like we're going to be seeing Nettie versus Celio next. And a lot of other matches kind of waiting to start bumping their way up to the quarterfinals and semifinals and finals. So I hope you guys have been enjoying things. Of course, if you have any questions about what this whole event is, what sort of stuff Excelio or Zowie they do, let us know. We'd be happy to answer that while we get things set up for the maps and everything for the next series. Ooh, starting on King Sejong here. I'm excited. Of course, Boisterous is a well-versed man on King Sejong Station for seeing it much longer than a lot of you guys maybe on the ladder.
Am I?
Yeah, of course. DETL,
Am I
man.
the first guy?